Welcome to the SBR NHL Play of the Day double play for Saturday, January 4th, 2020, our second show of the new year. Joined by Adam Booth, as always, as we deliver our top plays on the big Saturday NHL card. Let's get to it. Let's start with Columbus taking on San Jose. This is a early start game. In fact, both of these games hopefully are going to provide a winner before dinner for you on this Saturday NHL card, because the games we've both selected are both early afternoon games here, obviously in North America. For Adam, they're early evening there in the UK. But we got Columbus minus 145 home favorites, total 5.5, shaded to the over minus 120. Let's give this Blue Jackets team just an incredible amount of credit for what they've been able to do the last several games. Been winning games, finding ways to win against Florida and Boston, two pretty good teams, and doing it with the amount of injuries they've incurred in recent games. We talked about it the last show, the guys that have been out: Bjorkstrand, Atkinson. There's so many up front that have been out for this team due to injury. Tessier, and all they've done is they've found ways to win. They do it again, not pretty. Fall behind against Boston, but they tie it up in the third, and they win in overtime on a Sonny Milano overtime winner to beat the Bruins 2-1. A real impressive, gutsy, gutted out win for the Jackets. And, undermanned as can be, but playing tight defensive hockey. And lo and behold, here's Elvis Merzlikins, who had won a single game this year as a starting goalie prior to this week, and he's now won back-to-back starts. After going winless in his first 7, beating Florida and Boston in those 2 games, and obviously tasked with being the number 1 goalie for this team for the foreseeable future until they get Eunice Korpisalo back from injury. So it's been an incredible job by the Jackets. Got to give Tortorella credit for keeping this team on track, on point, despite all the injuries. And certainly on the other side, we've got a struggling San Jose team. I know they beat Pittsburgh the other night, but I think they took advantage of a decimated Penguins team that's now lost Jake Gensel as well to make matters even worse for them. Credit for them for the win, but is that a sign of a turnaround? I'm not so sure. If I were certainly to look at this game, I would not be interested in San Jose. And it looks like Adam is not interested in San Jose today. Are you, Adam?
No, not whatsoever, and you got that right. And I think you touched on a good point there with the Sharks, that they do get the overtime win against the Pens. Pens aren't at 100, and similarly, Jackets aren't at 100. Difference is the Sharks, even at 100%, have not played well enough through this entire, quite a long stretch. And we talked about on the play of the day. What was it? I took the Wings. Was it Tuesday? It was Tuesday when the Sharks started their road trip, and just said the Wings are much more The Wings were like a plus 130, plus 140 home dog or something like that, something big. And my point there was these are 2 very comparable teams in their form, in their numbers, and the Sharks. I mean, I don't want to say this is a fade Sharks play. This is a fade the Sharks until we start seeing their number justified. I was on the Pens to win in regulation the other night, but the Sharks number, I think it was plus 170. It was up there. That's more what we should be seeing from the Sharks on the road against these teams that are playing much better hockey than them over a significant stretch. And the Jackets currently hold the longest point streak in the NHL at 12 games. And they've lost, I think it's 10 of their starting players at times throughout this streak, including their starting goalie. They've lost some of their top point guys, power play guys, penalty killers, basically holds all over the lineup. The difference is Tortorella has these guys, whoever's stepping up in the lineup, playing in a manner that makes them difficult to play against. And that's why they have a point streak. Even in their losses, they're competing every night. So a point streak, for those that don't know, just means that if they lost, they were losing in overtime or a shootout rather than in regulation, which means that they are at least competing every single night. And I think the Chicago game was an example of, they were the better team for the first portions of the game. They let slip in the third. They lose in overtime through some controversy, whatever. But they had a chance to win that game. And regardless of the opponent, they're ready to play. And the Sharks, I mean, again, this is I can't stress enough. They are playing like a bottom 5 team in the league. I mean, if you look at their offensive and defensive numbers in contrast to just the Jackets tonight through a 10-game streak or the whole season, I still don't see the value on the Sharks. And that's why even at a shorter number with a team that on paper you say is probably should fall behind the Sharks in the standings, and maybe they will at the end of the season, but they are not playing like it, even with these key guys out. And Merzlikins gets his first two wins, but that was bound to happen if the Jackets continued to play well in front of him. And he still might not be better than Jones or Dell or whoever goes tonight. But if we're losing in. Oh no, you're still there. But if overall the Sharks are still continuing to have issues back there, then full marks to the Sharks. I mean, they kept the Penguins to 2 goals the other night, and that's a very potent offense. Is that offense at 100%? No, but the Jackets rely far less on their running up the score, getting 4 or 5 goals a night. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get involved in a Jackets puck line play or regulation. Probably not. I think the money line is just where I'll stick with it. I've seen it fluctuate between minus 145 and minus 155 this morning. I do think it should stay there. I mean, if it comes up to, minus 135, great. You can wait till closer to puck drop for that. But I would say the better side for even the shorter price is the Jackets tonight. So I think that's kind of all the notes that I wanted to touch on. What do you think, Ian?
I agree. I would look at I would prefer, if you're going to bet Columbus there, I'd feel more comfortable with the money line. They're not necessarily a team, especially with all that firepower offensively on the forward group out of the lineup right now. They're not a team I necessarily trust by 2 goals or more. You could take a chance with the Jackets puck line for a little more bang for your buck, but they're going to win a lot of 1-goal games, I think, if they're going to win. Their mantra right now is grind it out, be solid defensively, don't turn the puck over in areas that fuels the transition game of the opponent, and rely on, obviously, Merzlikins, who's playing, his best hockey right now. He's finally getting some confidence, back-to-back wins. So Columbus and certainly under the total would be the 2 ways I would lean in this one. Columbus wants a low-scoring game. If they're going to win this game, it probably has to be lower scoring. So certainly Columbus minus 150, I think, is a little bit safer than the puck line. So Adam, going with the Jackets today.
Yeah, well, and again, it's not something where you say, I love being on a team that isn't bound for the playoffs, or, I mean, we don't know yet. They still got half a season to play, but that, shouldn't be in the playoffs at, a chalky price. I mean, minus 150 is notorious for being sort of a trappy line. So you can, go from that angle of, Sharks momentum, Sharks more desperate, Sharks more talent on, the front and back end. I understand those considerations, but the model had them as, significant value overnight, still have it this morning. And I think part of that line is because of the injuries, and those injuries can come into play tonight, but hopefully not for my sake. Anyway, let's get to yours, and I'm excited to look at this one.
Yeah, Winnipeg Jets, Minnesota Wild. We've got Minnesota minus 140, home favorites, total 6 shaded to the over in this one. And the Minnesota Wild have dropped 2 in a row, losing to the Islanders and the Leafs. 2 good teams. I mean, the Islanders have had a great season. The Leafs are on fire right now. So you can't really say they lost anybody bad or anybody that you say, hey, how can you lose to that team? You can't say that about those 2 Minnesota losses. However, that being said, the offense is starting to dry up. They've had a tough time putting the puck in the net, 1 goal in each of the last 2 games, both losses. We've seen, their defensive game is starting to come around, but again, it's almost like when this team, they're getting their defensive parts back. Koivu and Spurgeon and guys like that have returned to the lineup. The guys I was concerned with, that's the guys when I was betting Minnesota over the total, I was targeting those 2 absences as why this defense wouldn't be as good, and they weren't as good defensively for a period of time. But now they got those guys back, and now it seems their offense has kind of sputtered since they got those guys back. So now that's the issue, is finding the back of the net for this Wild team. And to me, they're still a very disjointed group. I thought they didn't have a whole lot of energy in their game the other night against the Leafs. The Leafs, who have actually struggled defensively much of the season, or especially lately, they closed off time and space here for Minnesota. And Winnipeg, you would think, wants to play a little bit better defensively after a 6-3 loss to Toronto on Thursday night. And it was a very poor performance from Connor Hellebuck as well. He's actually had a really good season, but you could tell it was not his night. Some nights, and Paul Maurice said it after the game, your goalies doesn't have it on a certain night. He gave the puck away on the first Leaf goal that William Nylander scored. There was another goal that went right through him. I believe it was the third or fourth Toronto goal. And you could tell right then and there it was just not he was just not on his game. He didn't have his A game. And as a goalie, you're not going to have your best game every single night that you're in between the pipes. And so he gets pulled in that game. And that's significant because, Connor Hellebuck's no stranger to getting pulled. He's been pulled a bunch in his career with the Winnipeg Jets. But how does he respond following a subpar game, and specifically a game where he's been pulled? Well, he's been very, very good in that role. He's actually won, I believe, 11 of his last 15 starts following being pulled from a hockey game. So that's pretty impressive. That's pretty significant. He's been a guy that's been able to, use that as almost like a wake-up call, get back on track the next game. And there's no comparison between these two teams in terms of firepower and offensive potency. I mean, Winnipeg's got way more of it with Shifley and Wheeler and a red-hot Kyle Connor, and you better believe.
Man, did you see that Laine goal the other night?
Laine.
That third one, I think it was actually, I don't remember which one it was, but oh, man. Yeah, I know what you mean with that talent up front. Yeah, they're scary.
The forward group is good. It's all about what can they get from the team defensively, really, more than anything. That's always the biggest concern when it comes to the Winnipeg Jets. Can they be good enough defensively? Can they help out their goalie enough? But I think it's a good bounce-back spot for them. I think Minnesota is trending downward. They've really done a good job staying in the hunt, but I think eventually the cream rises to the top, and teams that just have more scoring prowess, more talent overall, are going to find ways to beat them. I think Winnipeg does, and I like Winnipeg. Winnipeg, first of all, off a loss is usually pretty good, and on the road, off a loss this year, they're 6-1. Minnesota at home, off a loss this year, is just 2-7. So you've got a huge discrepancy. You've got Winnipeg, who's thrived on the road following a defeat. You got a Minnesota team that struggled at home off a defeat going into this game here today. Hellebuck in a bounce-back situation. I think he'll play much better. Let's not forget the Jets. The last time they played the Minnesota Wild was right here in Minnesota. It was a Saturday afternoon game, and Winnipeg had played poorly the game before that game. They walked into Minnesota and they shellacked Minnesota, shut them out 6-0 in that game.
Oh, I was on the Wild for that one. I recall that one pretty well.
Yeah, and it was Winnipeg off a bad game on a Saturday afternoon game in Minnesota. I'm not saying they're going to win this one 6-0, but can they win the game? Yes, and I think they will. My play of the day is Winnipeg at a nice price too, plus 125 against Minnesota.
What do you think of the total, Ian? Did you have a thought on that one for this?
I don't want to bet Winnipeg under. I don't want to bet Winnipeg under. That's for sure. So I think over, but Minnesota's only scored one goal each in the last two games. Yeah. And Winnipeg, I think, is going to bring a bit more concerted defensive game, and I think Connor Hellebuck will want to play a whole lot better than he did the other night against Toronto. So I'd be more interested in Winnipeg team total over than I would full game
Let me
total.
see what that's sitting at. I just want to take a quick look at that because
I just don't know how much Minnesota's going to get. I know Winnipeg's not great defensively, but this is a spot where I think they'll be better than usual defensively.
Yeah, I'm seeing like
so will Hellebuck.
Yeah, no, and we have a nice 2.5 at minus 135 at Pinnacle. At Bet Online, let's see what it is. Because I think here we go. It's minus 140 at Bet Online. Yeah, I would look at that Jets team total, I guess, before I would take an over 6. But yeah, I haven't touched that game yet. I'm gonna look into it. I'm still working through my card. But I like it, man. So yeah, do we have any extra time? We got a minute left.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I was gonna say my other article play. I am taking the Kings Predators over 5.5 today. And the last time they played was that 7-4 chaotic one in the second week of the season. And, it was 4-1 Kings entering the third, ties it up 4-4 with 10 minutes left. And then they get one in the final minute and get 2 empty netters to seal it. But I don't think we'll see that. I mean, both teams have been a bit better defensively since. But I'm definitely liking the over there just simply because – Preds without Ellis as well. I mean, that's a significant blow. He's averaging 26 minutes a night the last 10 games.
Yeah.
So
no, that's 5.5. It's I know when there's a game with a 5.5 total, I try to make a case for the over because it's 5.5s are the lower end of the spectrum these days
Yeah.
when it comes to NHL totals. So I don't mind that one. Philly, Arizona over 5.5 is kind of interesting. Again, Arizona's starting to trend over the total, and we figured they would with no Kemper in net, weaker goaltending, better offense with Taylor Hall, and they've started to cash some over tickets in recent games. I think their game with the Flyers could go over the total. A couple other overs. Certainly, I'm going to be looking at riding Ottawa over the total again.
Yeah.
I mean, their defense continues to be banged up. Florida scored. Every team is scoring 3, 4, 5 goals minimum against Ottawa lately. There's just too many injuries on defense. Tampa Bay could get 4 or 5 themselves, and Ottawa at home though can score. Ottawa does put up some goals at home, so that's a good over to me. And so is the Islanders Leafs. I know the Islanders are scary sometimes to bet over, but teams can pull the Islanders into a track meet.
The Islanders have not been as good through December on the back end. No, I agree. Yeah.
And the Adam Pelech injury is a big one for them.
Yeah.
That is a physical stay-at-home shutdown defenseman and one of the better ones on that Islander team. I think they'll feel his loss.
I just wanted to say we got a question from Marcus. If we would consider parlaying your 2 plays. It's your bankroll. Welcome to approach it however you want. These plays aren't designed to double up, though. So we each have a different approach. Yes. And over a long, I mean, maybe they both hit today. We have hit, I would say, a number of times, both hit on the same day. But, it's not my recommendation to parlay hockey generally with any plays, even short favorites or puck lines or whatever. So my recommendation is no. I think Ian would probably agree with that. But you're more than welcome to handle your bankroll as you wish.
Absolutely. All right. So there we go. We got our plays of the day locked in. I'm on Winnipeg plus 125 against Minnesota, who are scuffling right now, and Adam liking Columbus minus 150 against San Jose. All right. That'll wrap up our Saturday edition of the SBR NHL Double Play of the Day video. Hope you all have a great weekend. Enjoy all the action, not just hockey. There's NHL, there's NFL wildcard weekend, there's NBA, college basketball. There's tons going on right now. So good luck with all your wagers across all sports. We will be back with you on Tuesday at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time for our next edition of the SBR NHL Double Play. For Adam Booth, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Good luck this weekend. We'll see you again Tuesday here on the SBR NHL Double Play.